This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. I'm excited. The gal that I have on today, she has some amazing topics and stuff that I am definitely passionate about. Dr. Jessica Houston travels nationally and internationally, inspiring thousands of college students, corporate executives, and conference attendees every year. As a keynote speaker and peak performance consultant, her messaging and platform are heavily influenced by her experience in leadership development, mental health, and higher education, which expands more than a decade. She currently serves as a professor at Purdue University and owns and operates a successful personal and professional development training company. Dr. Jessica, how you doing?
Hey, I am good. I'm good.
Well, glad to have you coming in from Macon, I think is what you told me. So why don't you tell me how we got to who Dr. Jessica is, how she's impacting so many people, why she's passionate about this.
Yes, so I'll give you the short version, but I grew up in Florida. So prior to moving to Macon, I'd never heard of Macon, Georgia. So that's why I always just think that people have never heard of it, but so I never heard of Macon, Georgia. I grew up to a teen mom. We lived in poverty. I struggled with low self-confidence. By the age of 17, I was in college and I was introduced to the star of the football team. That turned into a long-term relationship. In that relationship, we had some serious issues, very unhealthy, physically abusive, stalking, cheating, you name it, we encountered it. And so I finally got the courage once I received my master's degree in social work to move. And so I moved to Georgia, and that's really when my life changed. I began to work on my confidence. I got married. I earned my PhD. I wrote my first book. And so really, I think that pivotal moment was recognizing my value and getting out of that unhealthy relationship.
What was that pivotal moment where you were just like, okay, enough of this shenanigans. Like, I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. What was that moment? Was there an aha moment where you're just like, nope, enough?
Yes, and it's so funny when I think back on it because I was always pretty smart, even though I had low self-confidence. And so I went in, I finished my degree. He was there a year before me. And when I was in grad school, he was still there. And I'm like, you can do better than this. And so that was the moment when I said, okay, you're about to have a master's degree. He's still hanging around on a college campus. He's doing all of this stuff that you know you deserve better. And that's when I knew it was time to move on. He wasn't planning on making any positive changes.
That's pretty interesting. So star of the football team. And so you feel like, and I guess initially I'm leveling up, I'm going with the guy, and then come to find out that maybe this isn't what I thought it was. So you get into, I think you said your PhD was in social work. Is that correct?
My master's degree was in social work. My PhD is in education.
Well, this is a very educated young lady here. So let's talk about this confidence. So once you do all this and you've achieved what, obviously personal and professional development is extremely important to you. What was it? Was it books? Was it your education? Was it literally leveling yourself up with other people? Oh, what drove that?
Yes, so there were several things. Definitely personal development. Also, having my daughter really made me want to love myself more. It made me want to present myself as confident because I knew that even on the outside, I may have appeared confident to other people, but I knew when it was just me in the mirror, I was literally tearing myself apart. I just felt like I wasn't pretty enough. And women, we deal with this, I believe, more so than men. But I just dealt with that for so long. And I said, I'm not going to have my daughter follow these footsteps. So that was a key change. But then also just fixing myself up from the outside and the inside. So I had to address those wounds, the trauma, the hurt, pain, rejection, all of that. And then that's when I really started to build my confidence and build trust in myself that you are capable, you are valuable, you are beautiful. And it did take some time.
For those listening, that's a scary idea, right? To confront those deepest, darkest fears. What would be your suggestion to those that maybe can really resonate with what you're saying? Be like, yeah, I wasn't taught these things, and I have some baggage from growing up that I need to confront. What is some advice you would give? Because I think so often that's why people resist doing the personal development.
Yes, I do believe that sometimes we feel like if I just suppress it, it will go away. And in my background of social work and counseling, I understand that unless you address it, it's going to always be there. And I also understand that it will come out in some form. And so you may be snappy, you may be easily offended, you may can be happy one moment and then you're down the other moment and you're wondering like what is going on with me, but it's all of that built up trauma, anger, loss that you've never really dealt with.
So, being the child with your mom, I'm sure was an incredible mom, single mom, I think you said, to a teenage mom, which that's tough in itself. And so now you're raising your child probably differently than how you were. What are some of the basic tenets to parents listening that they're like, I want to do that. I want to provide that self confidence to my child as well. Are there some basic ideas that people can really implement today?
Yes, so for my daughter, she is super confident. She is super confident. Her first day of school, her teacher was like, wow, wow. She's like bossing everybody around. And I'm like, no, she's a leader. She is not bossy. But but I built her up from the moment that she could speak. I had her just saying affirmations and knowing that she's pretty and beautiful. And you don't have to wait on a guy to tell you that you're pretty. I wanted her to already feel that and giving her compliments and encouraging her to speak up. So she is very vocal. And so I grew up, I called it old school. I had an old school mom. I have an old school mom. She, when she says something, that is it. Don't you say a word back. If you say something back, it's talking back. But for my daughter to build up her confidence, I will allow her not to be disrespectful, but to say what she wants to say. And I believe that that can also contribute to low self-confidence because you're afraid to speak up for yourself. And I struggled with that for a long time. Even in school, I would know the answers, but I wouldn't say anything because I was just terrified of speaking up for myself.
Yeah, there's some crazy stat of how many times we're told no before the age of 18. And it's remarkable how the disparity between being told yes and being told no. To your point, it's like we are conditioned to, as a child, and that is old school, right? Like children are to be seen and not heard. I mean, how many times have we heard that? But
Yes,
you're kind of doing a different strategy. Like, look, you are a younger human being,
that's
but
right.
that doesn't mean you don't have a valuable opinion.
Right. And respect. I believe that the era that I grew up in, it was always about respect. But I believe that the respect should be mutual between a parent and a child.
So one of the things that you talk about is self-management. And obviously, I think this is something that everybody wants to do. We want to perform in our very best, but how do I even begin to do proper self-management? What does that mean? How can I really put that into tangible things that I can do every single day?
Yes, so self-management is really about managing yourself, and I look at it as the spiritual aspect and whatever your belief is, but I believe in a higher power. And then I look at socially managing yourself, making sure that you are surrounding yourself with the right people because the wrong people can get you off track. Also, I believe that it's important to take care of your physical health. That's also important for self management. So, of course, eating the right things, getting enough sleep, exercising, very, very important. And then also, one of the things that I believe in that people don't always talk about when it comes to self management, I believe that managing your finances. Because if your money ain't right, you ain't right. That's just the South in me. But I believe that you've got to be a good steward over your finances in order to really be your best self. And then obviously your physical and emotional health is also a part of self-management.
So it sounds like a holistic approach where it's not just, all right, mentally, because obviously, again, you clearly believe in education. You've continued higher education, get that. But you're saying it's more than just the mind, it's the body, it's the soul, it's the finances. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Love that. So the other thing that I saw that you talk about is confronting mediocrity. So how do we do that? And how do we even recognize this is mediocre? That's like, what does that mean?
Yes. So first of all, I am an achiever. And I say that out loud now because it was really taboo for women to be achievers. But I love to achieve. And I believe that's why I actually pursued a PhD as far as I can go in the education sector. And being an achiever, and I'm sure you know this, you can put forth about 70% and everybody is like, wow. But you know, you know, if you've done 100%, you know it within yourself. I don't care how many people come up to you and say, you did a great job with your presentation, but you'll know if you didn't. And so I believe that we have to first be honest with ourselves and saying, okay, you know what? I did not do what I could have done. I did not perform as well as I could have performed. I did not put forth enough effort to prepare. And so when you are honest with yourself, that's when you can truly become better.
So it's so interesting to hear you say that as a female, you didn't feel like I could be an achiever. Obviously, I'm not a female. I've never worn that hat, so I don't know. But is that something that has changed, or is that still prevalent today? Because I have boys. I'm married, but she's a pretty confident woman. So she's an achiever. Is that something that's prevalent, and I'm just burying my head in the sand, or I don't know, because I don't want to believe that's how the world is today.
It's still, we still deal with that to a certain extent as women. And a lot of times it's more so, well, shouldn't you be focused on your family? Or, you know, if you are focused on growing a business, then what about your husband? What about your kids? But they rarely would say that to a male, but we get those types of questions all the time. Like, how do you do all of this and have a family?
It is actually, now that you say it that way, I look at, I love watching sports. And I remember like when Serena had her child, peak of her game. And it's obviously somewhat derailed her career, but she's spoken openly about how important that was to her. So you're right. I guess it is still kind of the leave it to beaver idea where it's like the woman is taking care. That's crazy that we're still in that position today. Wow.
It is.
Another thing you talk about is being interested versus committed. I literally have written a blog on this. It's something I talk about, so I can't wait to get your take on it. I am all in. There's a vast difference between interested and committed. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes. So I believe that a lot of times people say that they want something, but really they are just interested in it. They're not really committed to it. I believe that commitment is always followed by intentional action. And for example, I might say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, yep, I want to lose 20 pounds, but I'm not going to put away the cake. I'm not going to put away the soda, whatever it is that I like. But I really want to do it. And it's like, no, you know what you have to do in order to accomplish what you say you want. So I believe that we've got to get to a place where our actions actually line up with what we say we want, because commitment to me is action. And share your thoughts. I definitely want to hear your
No,
thoughts.
I agree. Look, I just don't believe there's excuses. If you really want something, you get it. And I guess where I was going with this, as an achiever, as somebody that says, confront that mediocrity, so often there's something real called self-sabotage. And again, I'm curious to get your take on it. It's prevalent. It's out there in the world today. How can we help more people overcome that so they're not afraid to shine, not afraid to be their very best self?
Yes. So self-sabotage is something that I did to a certain extent. And I actually talked about this recently on a video. And sometimes there could be some truth to what you are saying to yourself, but the key is to not let that consume you. And so for me, I would say things like it's harder for women, or it's harder because I'm a Black woman, because I'm a minority. And so when I had this in my mind, I would not put forth the effort that I could have, because then I could just, well, at least I didn't put forth 100%. But then it's like, no, you got to go all in. And if you don't get the contract, it's okay. You can try again for another one. And I think sometimes it comes back to, at least for me, having a scarcity mindset and thinking that there's not enough to go around. But when I changed my beliefs and thoughts around what's available to me, despite my background, despite the fact that I'm a woman, that's when things really started happening. And it's so funny because people think, oh, this is just mumbo jumbo, believe it. But no, your mindset is so important. And when I finally grasped just how detrimental my thoughts were to my performance, that's when I really started seeing success in my business.
Guys, this is profound, because literally what she's talking about, that means all in, no side door. There's no, again, there's a reason you can't do it. I promise you, people will tell you why. Whether in your case, you said, I'm a Black female, therefore I can't. That's just something you can buy into. Just like I'm a tall male,
Right.
therefore I can't be a good dancer. Like, bullshit. Look,
That's
man, I
right.
can do it. That's just the way it is. But I understand what you're saying there. How did you discover to stop saying that? Stop labeling yourself and stop allowing the people to infiltrate your mind.
I had to use what I'd been teaching, confront mediocrity, because even though I had seen some success, I was still saying that to myself. I didn't even realize it until I really started tracking my thoughts, just how many times I said it. And I think I said it so much that it would just bring me down, like, oh, like there's no matter what I do, I'm not gonna. And I had to stop and say, that is not true.
So
That is not true.
yeah, and I'm going to take a leap of faith here and say some of the things your internal dialogue, you would never allow your child to talk to herself. I say this to my kids all the time. You can't talk to your brother that way, because I wouldn't let anybody else do it. I'm not going to allow you to. Is that a kind of the assessment that you figured out? Like, you wouldn't allow your child to talk to herself that way. So why would I allow myself?
Right, right. That's exactly what happened. I discovered that I was also complaining, and complaining is another way to really sabotage your success. Your focus is in the wrong place. You're focused on, oh, what I don't have and what's missing. But there are people who have exactly what you have, and they took that hand and they won with it. And so for me, I'm like, I'm not about to sit here and say, oh, woe is me, when I'm able to do it and I'm going to do it. I may not be able to get it done in 6 months. I may not be able to get it done in a year, but I'm going to do it. And that's my mindset.
I like that. So obviously, being an achiever, you have dealt with failure. I mean, anybody that's succeeded in anything they have. Do you have a process when it comes to this? I didn't succeed interim or in the beginning. Do you have something that keeps you from believing these thoughts, from self-sabotaging? Is there a certain process you follow?
So, oh gosh, I'm telling you, I was the kind of person, if I take a loss, I can get into bed and just stay there all day. Just put the covers over my head and I'm like, I'm done. I can't believe it. I'm horrible. I suck. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, look how many hours you're losing by being sad, by ruminating and playing this event in your head over and over and over. And so I had to learn how to separate my emotions from my performance and not necessarily attach me to the rejection. Because I believe that if I submitted a proposal and I didn't get it, or I went for a contract and I didn't get it, it was like they rejected me. And it's like, no, They just weren't ready for what you were offering. So it's on to the next one. Try again. You're going to fail, but keep trying. And so for me, my process is first, be aware. Yes, you missed the mark. Like, I don't believe in just like pretending it never happened. Nope, I own it. Like, yep, you missed the mark. Okay, now what can we learn from this? How can we make the next proposal better?
So I want to talk about that owning thing, because when you say that, a word comes to mind immediately, because I don't care. I said it on a call earlier today. I had put something out there and I missed the mark. And I said, look, guys, I own that. But there's a word. Do you feel a certain way when you own the wins and the losses? Is there a certain feeling that comes over you?
Yes, I get excited when I win, and when I lose, I'm mad. Like, I don't like to lose. I do not like to lose. Look, let's go win, right? I know we're on the same page right there. My mantra is expecting victory. But I understand that every perceived loss is really just a lesson, and it's an opportunity for me to get better. And so instead of getting really upset and going into a cave, I start to strategize. And that's how I really turn my frustration into fuel.
Ooh, she used the word. I was just gonna say that's that hate fuel sometimes, right? When
Yes.
it fills you up.
Yeah.
Expecting victory, you said it, so I just have to ask, where did you come up with that? Because it's beautiful, I love it, but how'd you come up with that?
Yeah, it's just a term that I would say a lot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna use that because I believe that if you expect something, whether it's negative or positive, it's exactly what you're gonna get. If I will continue to receive exactly what I expect. And so I always expect victory. And like I said, victory for me is actually getting out there and doing what I've been placed on this earth to do. So I'm still winning. Even if I don't get the result that I wanted, I still won.
All right, so you put out the big one, and I think anybody listen, we all want to know. We all have heard this. We want to know what we're on this earth for. Have you figured that out? Have you got it nailed in, like your purpose? You're clear on what I'm doing.
My purpose has been unfolding, and I believe that purpose is a journey. A lot of people think it's a destination, but I've learned that I've been thrown so many curveballs, and it's so funny because it feels like as soon as I think I got a grasp, and I'm like, this is it, this is what I'm gonna do, then it's like, nope, you're not. You're gonna shift gears and you're gonna do this. So I don't believe that there's just this final destination. I believe that as you learn more, as you grow, you're more equipped to teach people more. And so I love the journey of continually learning who I am. And thank goodness I've grown over the years.
That'd be pretty boring if you just got there. Then what, right? Okay, I'm there. I guess life's done at, you're like 25. So, you wouldn't be done by then.
Thank you. I received that compliment.
Actually, we could talk about that because you received it perfectly. This is the
Oh,
funny thing with when somebody gives you a compliment, you did it perfectly. So often people, no, you
thank
said thank you. That's exactly the perfect way. Peak performance habits is something that you talk about. Is there a specific set of habits that have helped you expect victory, that have helped you in your coaching? What are those habits that you're talking about?
Yes. So for me, I believe that it's important that you start your day right. So for me, the moment I open my eyes, my day has begun. And some people, they just hop out of the bed, like, I got to do this and I got to do that. And they're rushing. And I've discovered that for me, the key is even if I've got to get up earlier than everyone else, I'm going to take that time to pour into me. So if I had to share one strategy, I would say get up at least an hour earlier than you need to so that you can have that time to meditate, to read, to get your motivation in, to just walk for 20 minutes, but just have that time, prepare for your day, strategize, write down what you're going to accomplish, check whatever you need to do to get yourself right. Because I tell my family, like, that time in the morning is for me, but it's also for you, because I'm a better person when I can get up and get that time in with myself.
I hope you guys just heard this. This is a mother. This is somebody that is a professor. This is somebody that's doing a lot of work. And the first thing she takes care of before she leads anyone else is herself. I hope everyone heard that. I love that. I want to ask you, what really inspires you? So obviously, I could guess maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's, I don't know, but what really inspires you to show up the way you do in this world?
Yes, I believe really looking back at the way I grew up and not having a lot, it it inspires me to be able to get up and serve the world, and not have to be concerned about how am I going to feed my family, like some of the things that I dealt with before. It inspires me that I don't have to deal with those same struggles, and that I can change the world and enjoy it. Like I can impact lives and I can grow my business at the same time. And that's what I love.
I love it too. It's great. I mean, who doesn't want to be inspired by not worrying about taking care of their family? I love that. So you also talk about avoiding burnout and goal fatigue. So goal fatigue, that alone, people hear the word goals, they're already fatigued. They don't want to talk about it anymore. So how do we avoid burnout and goal fatigue?
Yes. So again, going back to taking that time for yourself, first of all, self-care is really the key to avoiding burnout, because I believe that burnout is a result to saying yes too many times. It's not knowing your limits. And you got to know when you are doing too much. And so being an achiever, I have to have this conversation with myself. It's like, okay, you're doing too much now. So what do we need to take off of our plate? So for me, that's the most important thing in avoiding burnout, is being sure that you are spending your time and your energy. And actually, let me use a better word, investing your time and your energy, because spending has a negative connotation to it. But I believe that you should invest your time and invest your energy. Um, I believe that you must value your yes. That's a chapter in my book, Profitable Conversations. Value your yes. And I believe that sometimes if you are this people pleaser, and you don't, and I had this, I didn't want people to think that I was selfish, because that was like a curse word. And so it was like I would just overextend myself, and then I'm tired, I'm burned out, and everybody else, their stuff is done, and then I'm up all night trying to get my work done, and it's like, no.
So value your yes. I can already tell you guys, this will be the title of the podcast. I already know that because that's brilliant. What did you say then? I'm so sorry. I did do my research, but the name of your book was Profitable Conversations. Is that what you said?
Conversations, yes.
What was give me the basis of the book and what really prompted you to write it? And congratulations, by the way, that's a
Yeah.
great accomplishment. But where did you come up with the title? What was kind of the reasoning behind that?
Yes, so my first book was more geared towards women and depression and child abuse and some of the things that we just struggle with as women. And then this book really is more of a personal development and professional development manual. It talks about handling disappointment and valuing your yes and walking in your purpose. So it's really about being a better version of yourself. That's really the premises of the book.
So how many books have we written, young lady?
Oh, this is my second book. This is my second book.
All right. So we just have to ask, where do you find the time? Because you are juggling a lot of plates. You got a lot going on here. How are you so efficient with your time to be able to be a mother, to be a wife, to be a professor, to write these books? Where do you find the time? Because clearly, and maybe this is the question to the yes, no. I'm really curious to hear this answer. How are you finding the time to do all of this?
Yes, so I basically make the time to do what I said that I was going to do. This is about building self-trust. And what I've discovered is that if your schedule is too flexible, people will come in and make their priorities your priorities. And so I make sure that my priorities remain the priority. If I'm working on a book, I'm working on my book for this block of time, no phone calls. I'm focused. When I'm spending time with my family, I've got to be present with my family. I don't want to be spending time with my family and scrolling social media. When I want to read, I'm going to take that time to read. If I want to listen to Audible. So for me, I compartmentalize what I need to get done. And I love to-do lists, but I believe that my calendar is really, really what keeps me in line. It keeps me on track, because I can write things on my list and never get to it. I can change the date as much as I want to, but if it's on my calendar, it must get done.
Do you have an accountability buddy, or is this just you and yourself saying, look, I said I was going to do it and I'm disciplined, I'm committed, and that goes, or do you share this with other human beings?
I do have an accountability partner, but we only check in like once a month. So we're not just on each other because we are pretty disciplined, but I am a part of a mastermind. And so I do also get accountability in that sense. But I have just become a very, very disciplined person because I know what I want to achieve. And I know that it's going to be up to me. I love Jim Rohn, and he said something that I believe is profound. He said, no one can do your push-ups for you. And I'm like, that's
Never
right.
been spoken. Ah, it's facts. So when you found your mastermind, because if I'm listening to this, and that's kind of a catchy thing that's really caught on over the last decade or so, how did you find your mastermind group? Because I know there's people listening, they're like, I want to do that. I want to be part of something better than just me. How were you able to find your group?
Yes, so I do a lot of research. I follow people for a while, and I like to make sure that you're not just somebody talking the talk, but you're actually walking the walk. When I first started in business, I threw thousands of dollars down the drain because I just saw somebody who was like, "Oh, I can help you do this," and I was like, "Oh, here's 5,000, here's another 5,000," and I'm like, I didn't get anything. And so now I learned that you definitely want to follow them and see what they're doing, and make sure that you're investing in the right mastermind.
Pretty interesting, because that totally goes away from instant gratification, which is, I need that, man. I need it now. Here's my 5 grand. If I pay you, you're going to help me. So do you, when you say I follow them for a while, is there a time, or is it just finally you get that gut feeling where you're like, all right, I'm in with these people?
Yeah, so I follow, and I I ask someone who is already in their mastermind, and I've done this the last couple that I've been a part of. I would kind of see who who's in their group already, and I would message them really quickly, like, "Hey, I'm curious about," and just ask them their thoughts as well, because they'll be honest.
Oh yeah, they're gonna give it to you. Tell me what you get out of it, because again, mastermind, I want people to hear what it's there's so much that you can glean from it. And it's not just from the facilitator or the moderator. And I hope people understand that. So can you talk about some of the things you get from those mastermind groups?
Yes, it is iron sharpens iron. And for me, it's really important that I surround myself with like-minded people, and also people who will challenge me to level up, because there are people in that mastermind who are way, way, way further along the journey than I am. And I can glean from them, and I can collaborate and partner with them, talk to them, and really build those key relationships. And I've discovered too that sometimes in masterminds, you can find people that you can actually collaborate with, put on events with, do your own mastermind with. I've done all of that with individuals that I've been in a mastermind with.
I want to stick with the education piece for a minute, just because again, you've pursued so far in your education, but I just imagine you even mentioned reading or Audible, that you set aside time.
Yes.
Can you think of two or three of the most impactful books that have really shaped your thinking?
Yes, I would say, oh, and I do read a lot. The first book that really challenged my beliefs around money is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Me coming from that background in poverty, I'm like, he is reading my mail. The money doesn't grow on trees. This scarcity mindset. So yes, that book, I would say, that really, really changed the way that I viewed money. Um, and what's another one that I really, really enjoyed? Because I do want to give you one that I really enjoyed. Actually, I just read Ed Milet's book maybe a couple of months ago, and that was good. Also, Max Out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was very good. It was a quick read, but I read it really, really fast. That was a good one too.
That's awesome. One of my most favorite questions to ask, and that is just, what does freedom mean to you? When I say, Dr. Jessica Houston, what does that mean to you in your everyday life? What does that look like?
Yes, and that's one of the things that I've pursued for so long, and it's time freedom and financial freedom. Those are the two freedoms that I have wanted. And I believe that it's really being able to be you and live the life that you desire to live. Sometimes we are just so bound. Maybe your parents forced you to be an attorney. I run into so many attorneys who decide, I can't do this any longer. So, maybe it's your parents said you must be a doctor or you must do this. But for me, freedom is, you know what? I don't care what you want from me. This is what I want for me. And this is what I'm going to do. Now that's freedom.
Oh, that is freedom, but it's so true. The conditioning, or I don't know what it is, the expectations perhaps that are lumped upon us to follow some path. Look, you know yourself better than anybody. And I have to imagine, I just will give your closest group a shout out. They probably support you in that you're saying, look, yeah, I could just do this, but I want more. Is that somebody lifting you up along the way and saying, you got this? Do you have that in your corner?
I definitely have that in my family members, but I had to learn not to need it.
Mm.
It's good to have it, but you should not need it because people will let you down. Some of the people that I thought would cheer me on when I started doing more, they pulled away from me and it hurt. They thought, oh, she thinks she's better than us. So they didn't want to invite me to the parties, to dinner, to whatever. I was kind of left out as I started to make those positive changes in my life. And so it's good to have it. But for me, as long as my family is behind me, that's what really matters.
Yeah, it is an interesting look. And if you look around who you've been surrounded with, and so often your biggest cheerleaders, when you do start to achieve that success, quote unquote, somehow that now you've turned. Yeah, I mean, the same human being, right? You're trying to bring everybody up around you, but somehow you are now better than that. It's so interesting to me. Jessica, what didn't I know enough to ask you that you're like, dang it, Jam, I have to get this out before we finish up?
I mean, I'm telling you, you were fabulous. You asked all of the right questions. I would say one of the things that I believe is important is to know how to pull yourself up when you're down. And for me, when I hit those rough patches or I just find myself in a funk, what I tend to do is search for external inspiration and motivation. So I will find some type of motivational video, inspirational song. I attempt to shift my energy because that's all it is when you're down. Your energy is down. So I find a way to shift my energy to pull myself up. And that works every single time. I try to laugh. I just refuse to stay stuck. I refuse to stay stuck.
Well, it's interesting. I know it's kind of last point, but I'm curious because it is energy, and you're right. It's literally just changing your thought pattern can make you. Nothing's changed. Still sitting on the couch, feeling like shit one moment, feeling like euphoria the next. But just give me some examples of some inspiration. So if somebody is sitting on that couch and they are wallowing in their misery, what are some things that they can find, or what has worked for you to shift that energy?
Yes, so I love motivational videos. So I actually do videos with Motiversity. So they can go to Motiversity. Motiversity has a ton of motivational videos. I have one on courage, one on depression. So whatever you're dealing with, you can literally go to YouTube and find something to pull you up. It's really that simple. But the thing is, it's still a choice to pick up your phone and say, you know what, I'm not staying here. And this is something that I've noticed, is that it's all about the choice. It's like, you know what? I don't want, when I make up my mind that I'm gonna have a pity party, I have a pity party. When I make up my mind, hey, this pity party is over, Jay, I'm up and I'm like, okay, I gotta fix me some tea. I gotta do something. I gotta get up. And then it's like, wow, it's not magic. I just made a decision to get up off my butt. That's it.
I hope everybody hears this, because I swear to you, people so often are like, oh, you're so positive. No, I'm not. Just like Jessica saying, look, we have our little momentary pity party, but then you get up.
Yep.
So Motiversity, I've never heard of it. I'm going to check it out. That sounds amazing.
Yes.
Speaking of, how can our listeners connect with you online, Jessica, to see what you're doing, all your work? Go see some of these videos. Where can they find you at?
Yes, they can go to my website, expectingvictory.com. They can find me on Instagram at Dr. Jess Houston. And I also have a YouTube channel with a ton of inspirational videos. And that's under my name, Dr. Jessica Houston.
You're crushing. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the way you show up in the world today. Thank you for taking the time, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. It's been an honor to share with you today.
Truly, it is our pleasure. You guys, I mean, look, she told you so. She was vulnerable. She told you exactly where she is at. This is how to pull yourself out of that wallowing ways. Get your ass up. Go have some fun. You will get up and you will have a better day. Go to check her out, you guys. She's amazing. And until next time, you guys continue transcending life. We'll talk to you then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.